Mother and aunt gave birth on the same day. Mother gave birth to a hermaphroditic freak, while aunt gave birth to a lively and healthy chubby boy. Mother was divorced, driven mad, and ended up on the streets, and I went from being the legitimate daughter of the Earl's Manor to a low-class prostitute in the Hall of Chastity. When Mother was abused to death by beggars, aunt held her child and triumphantly stepped on Mother's corpse. "This is your child, but he will only recognize me as his mother." Only then did I realize that aunt, who was a duchess, had taken elixir of beauty to compete for favor, causing the fetus in her womb to become deformed. Father and grandma, in order to help her consolidate her position, did not hesitate to kill my mother. Aunt was rewarded for giving birth to the crown prince and was made queen, enjoying endless glory, and father also remarried a mistress, resulting in a happy family. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day Mother gave birth. "This child of your sister's is definitely a boy, the astrologer has already calculated it. Once the crown prince is born, our Rose family will also be able to soar." Grandma's triumphant laughter pierced my ears, and I looked up in terror, seeing my princess aunt sitting at the head of the table, staring unblinkingly at my mother's belly, her eyes as cold as a viper. I quickly threw myself into Mother's arms, blocking those ill-intentioned gazes. Aunt harshly grabbed my ears and pulled me away. "Abigail is jealous of the little one in your mother's belly. Be careful, she jinxes the womb. Can you afford that?" Mother lovingly hugged me back into her arms. "Sister is joking. Our Abigail is my firstborn daughter, the most well-behaved. How could she be jealous of her brothers and sisters?" Grandma's face darkened as she spoke. "Lock Abigail back in her room. Don't let her come out again." It was the same in my previous life. I was acting spoiled by Mother's side, but aunt and grandma kept trying to drive me away. At that time, I ran out in a fit of anger for a day, and when I came back at night, I found that Mother and aunt had given birth at the same time. However, aunt gave birth to a healthy crown prince, who was taken back to the palace by the emperor. My mother, on the other hand, gave birth to a hermaphroditic monster. Mother was seen as ominous for giving birth to a monster. Taking advantage of the fact that my maternal grandfather and uncle had both gone to the frontier to garrison and couldn't return in time, father unscrupulously wrote a divorce letter and drove Mother out onto the streets. I was also imprisoned in the famous Hall of Chastity outside the city. Later, my personal maid Daisy blocked the pursuers for me, so I could go out and find Mother. But I saw aunt holding the child, directing several beggars to play Mother to death. I then heard that on the day Mother and aunt gave birth, father and grandma had helped switch their children. Aunt had been taking elixir of beauty during her pregnancy to maintain her perfect figure, and the child in her belly had long been diagnosed with a deformity. That's why she proposed returning to her mother's house to await childbirth. Ostensibly, it was because she would have the care of her own mother, but in reality, she had her eye on my mother's belly. My mother happened to be pregnant at the same time as aunt, so the child born would resemble aunt to some extent. Father's family came up with this plan. Discovering me nearby, aunt had my tendons severed and threw me next to Mother's corpse. I hugged Mother's corpse and froze to death. After death, my soul lingered for a long time, and I saw aunt being made queen for giving birth to the crown prince. Father married Mother's maid, Carol, who had long betrayed Mother and was pregnant. Grandma was so happy that she couldn't stop smiling, scolding my mother for being unlucky. My maternal grandfather and uncle came to the door, and Carol falsely said Mother of eloping with me and someone else. Aunt, who had become queen, used fabricated charges to execute the entire Elizabeth family. Now I have returned to the day my mother gave birth, and in Mother's arms, I couldn't help but shed tears. Aunt sent a trusted matron to pull me away, but I was determined not to go out. In this life, even if I die, I will not leave my mother's side for even half a step. Looking at the long sword hanging on the wall, I thought about taking it down and killing grandma and aunt directly. But not to mention that I, a child, wouldn't have the strength. Even if I succeeded, it would still affect Mother and my younger brother, and it would also implicate my maternal grandfather and uncle. Mother saw me frowning and quickly asked, "Abigail, what's wrong?" Mother's words gave me inspiration. "Yes, pretend to be sick." I sobbed softly, "Mother, I have a tumor on my butt. Please help me take a look." Everyone in the room laughed. Mother's maid, Carol, smiled and reached out to me. "Miss is really shameless, to be able to say something like that. let Sister Carol take a look for you. I flung Carol's hand away, with such force that Carol almost didn't stand steady. She quickly supported her belly. I sneered in my heart. At this time there was already an evil seed in her belly. I don't want you to look, you're just a lowly maid. When Mother bought you, you were still fighting with stray dogs for food. How dare you look at this young lady's precious butt? Carol's face turned pale. My mother had always spoiled her, giving her good fabrics, good jewelry, and good rouge without hesitation, treating her like a sister. I also treated her as my most trusted big sister. But Carol had forgotten her place, secretly seducing my father and betraying my mother. Mother frowned when she heard my words. Don't talk about your sister Carol like that. My good mother was kind and generous to servants. I pouted and acted spoiled. Mother, just go to the inn or room and help your daughter take a look. Grandma was annoyed by my noise and urged Mother, Elizabeth, go take a look, lest she makes a lot of noise and is restless, don't startle your womb again. Mother got up and led me into the inner room. I turned back and shouted, no one is allowed to come and peek at my butt. Everyone laughed again. I didn't care at all about their ridicule. Once inside the room, Mother began to untie my waistband, and I knelt down with a thud, tears in my eyes. Mother, there is no tumor on my butt. Mother, listen to me. Aunt's belly contains a deformed hermaphroditic one-eyed monster. Aunt, Grandma, and Father have already colluded to switch your healthy brother to Aunt. You will give birth today at the same time. Mother, you must believe me. Mother frowned. What are you saying, child? Your father and I have been childhood sweethearts, and I have been wholeheartedly devoted to your aunt since I married into the family. How could they harm me? I quickly grabbed Mother. Mother, you have been deceived by this family. Carol by your side is now pregnant with Father's child. When you give birth to a monster and are divorced, she will replace you and enter the family. If you still don't believe me, reward her with a bowl of saffron later, and you'll see the result. What I said was too real and too specific. Mother did not refute anymore. After a while, she gently asked, then after I am divorced, what will become of you? I shed 2 lines of tears. Daughter would rather die. Mother helped me up. No wonder the domineering younger aunt gave me the supplements given by the palace, and your grandma, who always favors you, also values my womb more, so that's what they're planning. Today is the day your maternal grandfather is leaving the capital. Good Abigail, go and call your uncle back. I knew Mother believed me, wiped away my tears and went out of the room. Aunt said in a strange tone, what could a young lady who hasn't left her room have on her but, wouldn't it be that she is ignorant and has contracted some disease? Don't let it spread to the fetus in your belly. Mother smiled faintly, it's just a mosquito bite. Today is the day my father and brother are going on an expedition. I want to take Abigail to see them off. As soon as Mother's words fell, Grandma and Aunt's faces changed. Mother gripped my hand even tighter. I knew Mother also saw something amiss. Grandma spoke, you're almost due. How can you go outside? What if you jinx the belly? Aunt also hurriedly called people to block the door. Yes, the child is important. What is there to see off? It's not like they won't be back. She said in a steady voice, the frontier is bitterly cold and far away. I'm afraid we won't see them again until next year. Besides, with so many maids and matrons accompanying you, how could anything happen? Mother grabbed my hand and rushed out. Everyone was afraid of her belly and didn't dare to use force, but they were also reluctant to give way, stubbornly blocking the door. Suddenly, the door was opened from the outside, and Mother and I's eyes lit up. Wife doesn't stay at home to rest, always thinking of running outside. Is there someone outside? Father, who should have been at the office, actually returned home early. Mother and I both felt a chill in our hearts. It seemed that Father was planning to act today. Mother forced a smile. I feel a little stuffy in Mother's room. Father and brother are going on an expedition. I want to see them off. Going out for a walk is also beneficial to the fetus in my belly. But husband, why did you leave the office so early? A trace of unnaturalness flashed across Father's face. You are about to give birth, so I asked for leave and came back early to accompany you. Isn't that good? Old Father and them have already left the city. Your body is heavy, you can't catch up. Go back to the room. Bullshit. Father's good husband appearance had deceived Mother for a long time. Now it seemed that they were all methods to take Mother's life. Mother also realized the urgency of the situation and quickly said, "Then I'll go back to my own room and lie down for a while." Grandma and aunt also came out. "My courtyard is so big, how can it not accommodate you? If you want to sleep, drink the prenatal medicine before sleeping." Immediately, a matron brought up 2 bowls of black medicinal juice, which looked like they had been brewed for a long time. Aunt picked up a bowl and drank it clean. "Sister-in-law, I've drunk it all, you drink it quickly." Mother hesitated. I suddenly realized that Mother hadn't reached her due date in my previous life. How could she be having labor so soon? There must be something wrong with the medicine. I pretended to be naughty, chasing mosquitoes, and knocked over the bowl of medicine. "Stinky mosquito, dare to bite me." Slap! My father slapped me heavily. I fell to the ground, my head buzzing, and my mouth tasted bloody. My mother quickly helped me up, looking at father with an inscrutable look. "It's just a bowl of prenatal medicine, why hit her so hard? Could it be that it's not prenatal medicine, but something else?" Father's eyes darted around. "It's just a bowl of ordinary prenatal medicine, wife. What are you saying? I just regret having to brew another bowl. Abigail is really naughty now. Why not send her out, lest she annoys you?" Mother looked at me. Her eyes seemed to have 1,000 words to say, but she said nothing. But I understood everything. The way for Mother and my younger brother to live was only for me to earn. I covered my face and ran out, shouting, "You only care about the brothers and sisters in Mother's belly. No one cares about me. I want to leave this house, so you can never find me again." No one would chase me. Their minds were all on the fetus in my mother's belly. The further I went, the happier they would be. I ran out of Grandma's courtyard, ran to my own courtyard, and called my personal maid Daisy to the horse stable together. I took out the lucky charm my uncle gave me, bit my finger and dripped blood on it, and handed it to Daisy. "You can ride a horse, take this out of the city and catch up with my maternal grandfather and their men, give this to my uncle, and tell him that my father is going to kill us mother and daughter today. Tell him to come back and save us. My life and Mother's life are entrusted to you." Daisy followed me to the Hall of Chastity together in my previous life, and later died to block the pursuers for me, so her loyalty was absolutely trustworthy. Knowing that there was no time to delay, Daisy rode the fastest horse in the house out of the door. I wiped away my tears, went back to the room and took the dagger my maternal grandfather gave me and returned to Grandma's courtyard. I couldn't leave Mother alone to face this group of beasts. The courtyard was already heavily surrounded by family servants, and no one was allowed to approach. Maids and matrons were shouting loudly, "The Madam and Princess Rose are about to give birth, call the midwives to prepare." I went around in a direction and crawled in through the dog hole. Unexpectedly, halfway through, I heard someone shouting loudly, "Catch her!" It was Carol. Her face had a few more traces of triumph. I secretly thought it was bad. Mother must be in danger. I thought it was some naughty girl. How come Miss is crawling through the dog hole? I put on a straight face. I want to see my mother. Carol covered her mouth and laughed twice. "How can a young lady who hasn't left her room be able to see such a scene? You really don't know shame. I advise you to go back to your own courtyard obediently, and eat a few more candy apples." Carol couldn't continue speaking. With a flick of my hand, I slashed her well-maintained face. "Aw, you damn child, have you gone crazy?" I sneered, kicking Carol's belly desperately. "Ouch, you beast, there's your brother." "In my belly! What kind of bastard dares to be my brother? Only the one my mother gave birth to counts as my brother." Carol's screams attracted the family servants, and I was relieved to leave after seeing the blood flowing between her legs. Coming to Grandma's room, I found an empty bowl on the head of the bed. Mother had been force-fed the labor-inducing drug, and was lying on the bed with a pale face. Aunt was nowhere to be seen. She must have gone to another room to await childbirth. Someone saw me and hurriedly drove me away. "Why is Miss back again? How are the family servants guarding the door?" Grandma saw me and scolded sharply. "Who allowed you to come? No manners, quickly drive this damn girl out." I was small, quickly rushed past those matrons to my mother's bed. My mother is giving birth, her life is hanging by a thread. As her daughter, I must protect her at all times. Grandma was so angry that she gritted her teeth, but she was afraid of hurting the mouse, so she could only continue to coax me. "Abigail, Don't you want a set of sugar figures? Come here, let Ms. Lewis take you out to buy them. I shook my head. I don't want to eat them. Mother said eating sugar will rot my teeth. I just want to stay with Mother. Grandma said again, aren't you always clamoring for your father to accompany you to the temple fair? Grandma will call your father to take you. I continued to shake my head. Mother is suffering. I'm not in the mood. My mother heard my voice and opened her eyes. Abigail, why did you come back? Mother wanted you to escape. Seeing Mother being harmed so weakly, I shed tears of heartache. Mother, we will live together, and we will die together. With me protecting you and my younger brother, let's see who dares to touch you. Grandma and the matrons under her command all changed their faces. Grandma no longer pretended at this time. What are you all standing there for? Hurry up. She's just a little girl. Are you still afraid of her? The matrons wanted to come forward and pull me away. I took out the blood-stained dagger from my boots and stabbed anyone who came. Those who dared to come forward had bloodstains on their hands and faces. Miss has gone mad. Quickly call the family servants in to carry her out. Father came in with a few burly men. Little beast, you've caused a disaster. Is the fetus in Carol's belly gone because you kicked it? I sneered. Carol is just a maid bought by my mother. Her life and death are in my mother's hands, not to mention aborting her bastard. Even if I kill her, the government won't care. Father was so angry that his beard trembled and his eyes widened. Do you know that that is your brother? I protected my mother's belly. My real brother is here. Whoever dares to touch him, I will kill them. Several burly men directly came up and captured me. The strength disparity was too great, and I couldn't resist at all. Father gave me another slap. I could feel a sharp scream in my ear, and then the surroundings were quiet. I couldn't hear anything. Father suddenly released his hand that was holding me down. I turned my head and saw Mother leaning against the head of the bed, holding the dagger I had just dropped in her hand. Carol, at this time, had also bandaged the wound on her face and came into the room, staring at me fiercely. Her expression was angry, and her mouth kept moving, probably scolding me for being a little beast, a little bitch, and the like. Carol leaned in Father's arms and cried. Father looked at me as if he was looking at a dead person. I could feel the coldness of the knife in Father's hand, and all the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I thought I was doomed, but the knife in Father's hand did not fall for a long time. After a long time, my ears gradually regained their hearing. Mother said, whoever dares to touch my daughter, I will kill the child in my belly. We mother and three will die together, and call you a total loss. Father tied me up and threw me in the corner with an iron face. Then he coaxed my mother in a good voice, wife, don't get angry, giving birth to the child first is the most important thing. But I knew that once the child was born, Mother and I would be completely out of luck. Mother also understood this principle. She stubbornly prevented the child from coming out, relying on the pain of cutting her arm with my dagger to maintain her control over her body. After a long time, Father and Grandma began to get anxious. The princess's amniotic fluid has broken. The child is about to come out. Pour another bowl of labor-inducing drug for this bitch, a big bowl. I prayed in my heart, Uncle come quickly, Uncle come quickly. Several burly matrons came in and force-fed Mother another bowl of medicine. Mother couldn't hold on any longer. The midwife was overjoyed. It's coming, the amniotic fluid has broken, the child is about to come out. A strong sense of despair welled up in my heart. Mother screamed in pain. I saw Father nodded towards the midwife and stuffed her with the gold coins, then walked out of the room. I immediately understood that Father was planning to let Mother die on the delivery bed. I struggled desperately to get up, using my head to hit the midwife's body. Every blow was like hitting a copper wall. I was grabbed by the neck by tiger-like claws. Little bitch, you're in a hurry to die. Don't worry, your mother will be sent away immediately after she gives birth to the child, and you will follow closely behind. I was trampled on the ground by several matrons. Basins of Mother's blood were taken away, which made my heart and liver break. Suddenly there was a high-pitched cry of a baby. It's a boy! Father kicked open the door of the room and came to Mother's bedside laughing. Looks like me, and also looks like Princess Rose. Then he glanced at my mother with icy eyes. Elizabeth's production was difficult. It is claimed that she has what? Happened? A loud voice rang out. It was Uncle. The dusty and limping Daisy rushed towards me. "Miss, who beat you like this?" Uncle held his long sword and kicked away the matrons who were suppressing me with one foot. A martial artist, the force was so great that the matrons couldn't bear it, and they vomited blood one after another. I trembled and pointed to the healthy baby. "This is my brother." Father turned pale. Didn't younger uncle leave the capital? How could he have time to come back? Uncle sneered. "If I didn't come back, I'm afraid my dear sister and dear niece would have been eaten by a family of wolves." Uncle stepped forward and picked up the healthy, chubby baby and handed it to me. I carefully looked at the child that my mother and I had risked our lives to protect, and didn't dare to let him have any more accidents. Mother also regained consciousness and shouted, "My child." I quickly held my brother forward. "The child is here, healthy." Uncle called the soldiers in to take my mother away. Father frowned. "What does younger uncle mean?" "That is my Rose family's daughter-in-law." Suddenly, a baby's cry came from the next room, and Father's face changed drastically. Aunt had also given birth. A servant came over and reporting to the Earl, "Princess Rose has given birth. She has given birth to a prince." The little maid who spoke stuttered, as if she had been frightened. I remember being scared to death when I saw the hermaphroditic one-eyed baby in my previous life. It seemed that Aunt and them had also prepared a second method. If my mother's side was not going smoothly, they would find a healthy boy outside, which would be better than that hermaphroditic baby. Father nodded seemingly calmly, but the flashing eyes betrayed the panic in his heart. Seeing this, Uncle sneered. "You also know that this is your family's daughter-in-law. Have you forgotten the oath you made when you asked to marry my sister?" Seeing that the matter was already a foregone conclusion, Father hurriedly changed the subject. Younger uncle misunderstood. "I was just too worried about Princess Rose. That's why I was a little irritable. After all, that is a royal heir." Uncle did not wait for Father to quibble, and carried my mother away in a thick sedan chair. "The truth, His Majesty will decide. This marriage, I think it is no longer necessary to make." When leaving, I saw Carol hiding aside, and shouted, "Wait, there's still a maid missing. Carol is my mother's lifelong servant. She has to go with us." Carol was so frightened that she fell to the ground and crawled to Father's feet for help. "Earl, you can't ignore servant. Servant has carried your child." Under my uncle's fierce gaze, Father had to turn his head away. "Carol, what are you talking about? You are the madam's person. When have I ever had an affair with you?" Uncle's soldiers picked Carol up like a chicken and dragged her back to the general's mansion. As soon as we returned to the mansion, we heard that the emperor had personally gone to the Rose family to take back Princess Rose and the prince, and had also named Princess Rose as crown princess. I told my mother and uncle about the matter of Aunt giving birth to a hermaphroditic baby. Although it was absurd, they all believed me. The story of switching the baby has existed since ancient times. It is not surprising that the Rose family can come up with such a sinister thing. We tortured Carol severely, but she was a devoted person and dared not betray my father at all. The midwives who participated in the delivery that day were all hidden by Father and them, so there was no evidence to sue the emperor. But that day my mother was weak, the mansion was chaotic. If we continued to stay, it was hard to guarantee that we wouldn't be attacked while weak. Although I witnessed the whole process, a child's words are worthless. How would adults be willing to believe a child's words? The only breakthrough at present is Carol. I locked her in the cellar and let insects bite her all day long. She wouldn't die, but it wouldn't be comfortable. I also asked Mother to let Daisy be my sister. She would be my second sister from now on, and my brother would be ranked as the third child. Daisy had no family since she was a child. If I was good to her, she would repay me tenfold. In order not to delay me and Mother, the saddle rubbed a layer of skin off her delicate thighs. Uncle returned to the capital without authorization, and had already submitted a plea for guilt. The emperor was grateful for Princess Rose's contribution to giving birth to the prince, favored the Rose family, named Father as the duke, and fined Uncle a year's salary. He also asked my mother to return to the Rose family after her confinement. Divorce was hopeless. Watching Mother and Uncle sigh, I gently suggested, "It's not necessary to divorce. Mother has a daughter, a son, and a family. If she doesn't have a husband, guarding the huge duke's mansion, how happy that day would be." Mother hurriedly covered my mouth. "Abigail, have you gone mad? That is your own father. I shook my head. He's not anymore. He wasn't in my previous life. He killed mother, killed me, robbed my brother. I don't have such a father. Uncle approvingly patted my shoulder. Abigail deserves to have our Elizabeth family's blood flowing in her veins. Women must also be ruthless to protect their lives in that man-eating backyard. Elizabeth, you are not as good as your daughter. Mother was silent for a long time after hearing this. I knew that she and father were childhood sweethearts. It was difficult for her to accept the fact that father had already rotted. She felt uncomfortable in her heart. But although mother was gentle, she also had a stubborn side, that is, no one could touch her children. Okay, since he is unrighteous first, don't blame me for being unjust. Mother and I took our brother and uncle's personal guards and returned to the Rose family. Mother pretended that nothing had happened and became even more considerate of her husband and respectful of her mother-in-law. Even I was more obedient and stayed in my room embroidering all day. The Rose family was relieved. They all thought that this matter had been lightly dismissed. Until the prince's first birthday celebration invited relatives into the palace. My mother and I, as relatives of aunt from her maternal side, were also invited to the palace. Having become a crown princess, Aunt was adorned in magnificent robes, with a heavy tiara atop her head, laden with pearls the size of chicken eggs, seemingly overshadowing the understated queen beside her. The queen, a daughter of a general's family who had fought on the frontier, was already losing the emperor's favor, and coupled with her childless years, her being deposed seemed inevitable. Aunt, beaming with pride, flaunted the emperor's favor to everyone, showing no regard for the queen. As Aunt's relatives, the queen naturally treated my mother and I with indifference. I feigned curiosity and approached Aunt's prince. The prince is so adorable, like a celestial being from the heavens. Aunt proudly raised her eyebrows, and the emperor, delighted, rewarded me with a handful of golden peanuts. Haha, indeed, children speak the truth without reservation. Take another look. Who does the prince resemble more? I accepted the reward and gave thanks, then continued, the children of the Rose family all have 2 cowlicks, Aunt too. The prince only has 1, and his eyes aren't as big as Aunt's. I know, he must resemble the emperor. The emperor's smiling face instantly darkened. Everyone knew that the emperor had always been a handsome man with large eyes and 3 cowlicks. Initially, he was overjoyed with the birth of the prince and hadn't carefully considered whom the child resembled. Now, upon closer inspection, it was true that the prince resembled neither the crown princess nor the emperor. Aunt's face paled. Go, 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 you're just a child, don't jinx the emperor, go find your mother. I was a child, speaking without intention, but many present were listening intently. I returned to my seat and gave the golden peanuts in my hand to the queen. Your Majesty, here you go. These look like peanuts but can't be broken open at all. If your Majesty wants to eat real ones, you can get them from my maternal grandfather's house. That's where the real peanuts are. After the palace banquet dispersed, my father was the first to grab me, intending to hit me, but I easily broke free from his usually strong grip. Mother's face turned cold. We've just left the palace gate, why are you pulling Abigail like that? Father's face turned red with anger, and his breathing became somewhat labored. Look at the nonsense she spouted in front of His Majesty. What if the crown princess is suspected by the emperor? My mother said loudly, a straight tree has no fear of a crooked shadow. Who would dare to confuse the imperial bloodline? Father broke out in a cold sweat. Keep your voice down. This is the palace gate. My mother glared at him, led me onto the carriage, and left father behind. Father's health was deteriorating, and seeing him gasping for breath while leaning on a tree, I happily put a piece of candied fruit in my mouth. On the way, someone stopped our carriage. Madam, miss, an important person wishes to speak with you. My mother and I boarded another carriage, and inside sat the queen. Even though we had no prior interactions, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, especially since both mother and the queen were born into generals' families and naturally felt a sense of camaraderie. Mother went straight to the point. Does your Majesty believe that dreams can predict reality? Mother told the queen everything that happened on the day of the delivery, including the ending I had seen. Aunt would become queen by virtue of her son, while the queen would be feared by the emperor for her childlessness and her family's military power. The queen would be burned alive in the coal palace, holding the battlefield rifle she had taken to the frontier. Veins bulged on the back of the queen's hand. Before her marriage, she was a valiant female general. Although confined to the palace for many years, she could not forget the feeling of commanding the battlefield. So, before her death, she took out her long-neglected battlefield rifle, which she never showed to others. The queen believed it. My mother also handed over Carol, who had been imprisoned, to the queen. The queen was not an ordinary woman confined to the inner palace. Her marriage to the emperor was a political necessity and a union of strength. Now that the emperor was threatening to overturn the table, the queen would not be soft-hearted. Later, Carol was tortured to become a skeleton, and even her parents who were far away were dug up. Carol had originally wanted to wait for my father to save her, but my mother had brought several women from the brothels into the mansion to serve my father, and he had long forgotten about her. Carol confessed, and the queen also found the corpse of the hermaphrodite baby who had been strangled to death, as well as the midwives who had delivered the baby that day. The emperor had already become suspicious of the child who resembled no one, and immediately performed a blood test, only to discover that the prince was not his imperial seed. He immediately wanted to depose Aunt. Although the emperor tried his best to avoid a family scandal, Aunt still sent a message for help to my father. After learning the news, father kicked open the doors of my and mother's room with a knife, but his personal guards stopped him. Father laughed loudly. "Fools, you have overthrown the Duchess, overthrown the Duke's mansion, but you, Abigail, and Tommy, are all members of the Rose family. When the nest is overturned, none can escape." M.O. They laughed, and I laughed too. Even Tommy in mother's arms babbled happily. The crown princess is finished, but the emperor's throne is also coming to an end. The queen had seen through the emperor's true colors and, like mother, had figured something out. Rather than living under someone else's thumb, it was better to go all the way. News came from the palace that the crown princess had plotted to harm the emperor and had been thrown into the cold palace. Now the emperor was poisoned and lying on the royal bed, with the queen leading the prince to handle state affairs. Father was shocked. "How can there be such vicious women? Your husband is your heaven. The emperor is the son of heaven, and that prince is clearly a child from outside the palace." I hopped over to my father. "Father, don't worry, the poison you have is much more advanced than the emperor's. The emperor will die soon, but you will suffer more." My mother helped me adjust my hairpin and raised her eyebrows at father. "Husband is heaven? That's meant to shelter us women and children from the wind and rain, but you collapsed and tried to crush us, then what do I need you for? As for the prince, now that he's on the imperial register and being raised by the queen, he's the queen's child." Father spat out a mouthful of old blood in anger. Seeing that coercion was useless, he began to play the emotional card. "Elizabeth, we were betrothed in our youth, and have been husband and wife for many years. Now that you've climbed up to the queen, don't abandon me." My mother sneered. "Young husband and wife, affection between husband and wife? From the moment you rotted, there was no more affection between us." Father was in great pain. Mother stopped him with just one sentence. "If you had switched my child, how would you have treated me?" My mother and I were invited into the palace and saw the queen again. This time, she held the imperial seal, shining brightly. "You've arrived? Go see your younger aunt. She's still refusing to die." My mother and I walked hand in hand to the room where Aunt was imprisoned. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes were bloodshot, and she no longer had the splendor she once had. Seeing my mother and me, she immediately tried to pounce on us, but the queen's trusted eunuch bent her legs. "It's all your fault. If I had used a child born to you to impersonate, that child would have resembled me somewhat and would not have been discovered. Now it's benefiting the old hag queen, who is monopolizing the emperor's favor." I chuckled. The queen's vision is much greater than Aunt's. Aunt couldn't understand what I was saying and only cursed. "It's all you two bitches. If it weren't for you, I would be queen now. I want you to die." Aunt completely forgot that before she was married, Grandma didn't care, father was unreliable, and mother pampered her, loved her, and supported her step by step from a beauty to a duchess. In this selfish person's heart, there was only resentment towards others. My mother didn't give her a chance to continue insulting us and stabbed a knife into Anne's heart. The eunuch next to her nodded in satisfaction and offered a basin of water for Mother to wash her hands. The queen also rewarded Mother with many things. Mother's stab was not only to avenge herself, but also to show her loyalty to the queen. The queen drafted an imperial decree on behalf of the emperor, saying that the Rose family had acted righteously by killing a relative and expelling Rose from the family tree, so the duke's mansion's crime of failing to educate their daughter would not be pursued. Grandma and father fell ill at the same time. Mother changed her usual gentle appearance and killed or sold all the hereditary servants of the duke's mansion. The duke's mansion completely became Mother's territory. Father was lying in bed, unable to even speak. I went in for a look. It was too smelly, so I locked the door and threw the key into the well. On the day Grandma died, a grand funeral banquet was held at home, and the queen sent heavy gifts, along with a secret decree. I curiously glanced at it. It said, "It's time." That night, Father died of excessive grief. Mother, along with my brother and I, supported the Rose family. Later, the emperor died, the prince ascended the throne, and the queen mother chose my future daughter as the future queen. But I wasn't even married yet. How would I know if I would have a son or a daughter? The queen patted my head. You're a clever girl. The daughter you give birth to will definitely be exceptional. I knew that the queen wanted to completely tie us to the same boat. But so what? The link of interests is sometimes stronger than emotion. 18 years later, my eldest daughter entered the palace, and I became the emperor's mother-in-law. My brother Tommy followed his uncle into the army and is now a great general protecting his region. Interests sometimes defeat emotions, but my family members will guard each other from now on, guarding each other as always.